Fuck, I'm going to beat my meat after this. Hello, it's me, the Master Nuzlocke himself. And yeah, you heard me right, I'm going to take this guy's title off.
And kill some babies.
This is not even a Nuzlocke video, I don't know why I'm saying that. And last time I checked, I've lost like 2 Nuzlocks in a row. Nice. So today I'm asking the age-old question. Is it possible to beat Pokémon Emerald with only grass types? And before, of course, I go on this epic speech about how impossible this challenge is going to be, I would be lying because a lot of people have done this, at least this many. Yeah, you heard me right, just me. So obviously, as if any other great Pokemon journey, it starts off with us moving in a new town called Littlewood, where we introduce ourselves with our next door neighbor, who also happens to be our rival. But we don't really care and we simply move on back outside, where the so-called Pokemon professor is getting mauled to death by a very spiky raccoon. So he tells us to look inside his bag so we can choose ourselves our very first grass type. Draco, and a Trico. Yeah, After we beat the Citzagoon, we get to nickname our Trico, which we name Avocado. So, quickly after that, we move on our way to our very first rival fight, where I realized I had severely screwed my rival for the rest of the game. You chose Smart, but I chose 3. Oh, it's because oh my god, I screwed you over! After I quickly beat the rival, who I had made weak against me by an accident, I go and get my second grass-type Pokemon, who is going to be an important help in this run, Lotad, which of course I nickname Watermelon. And just like Sceptile, Ludicolo is another Pokemon that sits as one of my all-time favorite Pokemons, who again is one of the many reasons I chose the grass type. So, with my party of 2, we go and greet our father figure who abandoned me as a child so he can beat 11-year-olds for a living. So, we quickly talk to our dad's more important adopted son, who we help out to catch their very first Pokemon. After that, we make our way towards Petalburg Woods, where we catch ourselves another heavy hitter that's going to be an important part of the team, Shroomis, which we fittingly name Goomba. Right after that, we crash into the sky in a lab coat who's being chased by a guy who looks like he's coming out of AnimeCon. So, of course, we beat this Hatsume Miku and get a great ball as a reward from our dear new friend who I'm going to call Patters. We now make our way towards Rustboro City, where we challenge our very first gym. That goes relatively easy because we chose to do this run with grass types again. So, it's a simple task of using Absorb on the Geodude. After that, she sends out her second more powerful Geodude, who we also one-shot with a single Absorb. And last but not least, she sends out her Nosepass. And if you see a pattern here, I use Absorb again. After the embarrassment for Gym Leader, we make our way towards Rostov Tunnel, where we must help an old man retrieve his seagull that's been stolen by none other than Hatsume Miku. And, of course, as a wise man once said, history repeats itself. Then we get greeted by Patters again, where he decides to introduce us to who I always thought was the literal president of Hoenn. I mean, they literally just call him the president, so I always thought he was the literal president of Hoenn. Until I finally decided to pay attention to the subtitles. Anyways, he gives us a letter to bring to his son Steven, who happens to be at the same location where we're headed next. And I always thought this was strange, because he needed a letter to inform his son about something, even though he gives us a phone. So does this mean that he did not give his own son a phone, but this random, strange 10-year-old he just met on a whim happened to look like he'd need a phone? I mean, like literally over half the trainers in this game ask for your phone number. But the literal ex-champion of this region doesn't have a phone? So we make our way towards Stewart, where the next gym awaits us. But of course, on the way, we train up just a little bit, so Trico evolves into Crowile and Lotad evolves into Lombre. But of course, before we can fight the gym leader, we have to give Steven his letter. Now, with that out of the way, we make 0 sorts of preparations and challenge the fighting type gym. He starts off with a level 16 matchup against my level 18 Avocado, so I start off with a lucky critical quick attack that gets it into half HP, but of course, he's not gonna let that go and gets me back with a critical karate chop, which one-shots my Avocado. So, we switch into a Goomba and kill it with a couple Mega Drains. His next Pokemon is a level 16 Meditite, who starts off with a Bulk Up, which we respond to with a Leech Seed, to chip away at its health. After that, I retrieve my Goomba and send out Watermelon, which was an awful idea cause he hits us with a critical hit focus punch. So, we sent out our last trooper, Goomba, back into the field, where we chip away at its health with Tackle until it dies because of the chip damage from Leech Seed. Now he sends out his ace Pokemon, Makuhita, who starts off with a Bulk Up and we respond to it with another Leech Seed. The Makuhita goes down I mean, the Makuhita goes in for another bulk up, which we... Oh, fuck. I can't speak to that. I'm so sorry. I've lost my ability to speak English. I'm not an Englishman. Okay, I'm not even an English major. I'm a Finnish kid on a room talking with nobody. I have a microphone and I set up my computer in the most inefficient way. Anyways, the Makuhita goes in for another bulk up, which is starting to look scary. So now we just pray to whatever deity you believe in and hope it can't one-shot me. And lets me heal off with a Mega Drain and Leech Seed, which somehow works, and I'm not quite sure why. Now after achieving our second gym victory, we make our way towards Slateport, where Team Aqua has for whatever reason invaded a museum. Of course nothing interesting happens, and I simply fight off a couple grunts and keep on moving towards Route 110, where we fight May for the second time. She starts off with a Lombre against my Goomba, and hits me with an Astonish, which makes me flinch, but my effect spore activates and poisons it. Now, it's a simple question of using Mega Drain a couple of times and the Lombre goes down. But instead of letting the Lombre faint, May changes her Pokémon into Slugma, who finishes off my Goomba with a couple Embers. So, we switch into Avocado and finish it off with a couple Quick Attacks. Now she sends out her Lombre back, so I do the obvious move of sending out my own to show her my superiority, how I got the better Lombre. So we fake out once to flinch it and let the poison damage do the rest. And finish the job with an Absol. Now she sends out her ace Pokémon, Marstomp, who uses Bite, so we manage to get in a couple of Absols before the Bite takes effect and one-shots our Watermelon. So now it's a simple question of using Avocado, where we take the win with one last Absol. After fighting May, we go and get our next encounter from the same route, an Oddish, which we nickname Onion. Shortly after some training, Onion instantly evolves into Gloom and our Goomba into a Breloom, who's going to be an important key figure for defeating the Electric-type gym. So after preparing a little bit, we YOLO in and challenge the gym. I start off with Goomba against this Voltorb, where I instantly go for a Mach Punch and deal over half its health. The Voltorb uses Spark against me and barely does any damage, so we finish the job with another Mach Punch. Next, he sends out his Electric, which I respond to by changing into my Onion, and poison it instantly. Next, it's a simple matter of spamming Absorb a couple of times, and the Electric goes down. Next, he sends out his Magneton, where my beautiful fighting-type Goomba comes into play once again. Now, I play a funny game called How Many Mach Punches Does It Take? And the answer is not that many. Last but not least, he sends out his ace Pokemon Manectric. We start off with a Mach Punch to get some damage in, which it responds to with a Thunder Wave paralyzing us. Next, I take my luck and hope the paralysis doesn't stop me, which it does. But because the Manectric hit me with a shockwave and got me into less than half HP, my Oranberry pops and I manage to gain some health back. Again, I take a gamble and manage to hit it with a Mega Drain, which unfortunately for me pops its Citrus Berry and gets it even more HP back. So to get some last damage effort in, I go for a Mach Punch. Surprisingly for me, its next attack doesn't finish off my Goomba, so next turn, it quick attacks me for another fainted Pokemon. So I send out Avocado and respond to it with my own quick attack. Next, I get a lucky crit quick attack and heal myself off just a little bit with an Oranberry, which doesn't matter because it one-shots me with its own lucky critical hit attack. So I send out Onion, attempting to go for another poison power, but misclick and go for an Absol instead. But we managed to tank a shockwave and hit it with a sleep powder next turn. Now it's a simple matter of spamming Absol till we win the third gym. So now we continue our adventure towards the fourth gym. But before we can get there, we have a couple story bits we have to do at Meteor Falls, where we crash into Team Aqua and Magma arguing about which box legendary is better. But nothing interesting really happens there, so let's move our focus on the boss fight against Max that happens at Mount Chimney. He starts off with a Mighty Enna, which we counterpick with our Goomba, who can kill it off with a couple Mach Punches. Next, he sends out his Scammer Up, which we Mach Punch for a little bit of its health, but he managed to kill us with our couple Embers. So, we sent out our Watermelon, and Starlet with a Fake Out. Next, we Rock Smash while it uses a potion, and then he switched into his Zubat, which we Nature Power luckily into a Rock Slide, and one-shot it. Then, he switched back into Camera, so I switch into my Onion, where I miss my Potion Powder. Luckily for me, he goes into a Focus Energy instead of Ember, so next turn I managed to... Wait, what the fuck is that? There's clearly some misspellings. So next turn I managed to hease my poison. Now it's a simple game of stalling till he dies off the toxins. So now we finally make it to our next destination, Lava Ridge Town, where our first big hurdle awaits us, the Fire-type gym. So I go in without any preparation and get completely swept, because what else would you expected out of the Fire-type gym against the weak Grass types? So next I start thinking of a plan to defeat Flannery. And luckily for me, I happen to have the HM for Bulk Up, which I got from the fighting type gym early on in the thing. So I start my second attempt, where I managed to use Bulk Up once before the Numel goes for an overheat, but luckily for me, it doesn't one-shot and my effect spore activates, giving the Numel paralysis. Now, it's a simple task of using a super potion and getting a couple more Bulk Ups in. So I get it set up to 4 times and start spamming A button on my Mach Punch. The Numel gets one shot, so she sends out her camera, who can't escape my flexing fungus and goes down in a single hit. Next, she sends out her Slugma, who, surprise surprise, does not survive my Mach Punch. And last but not least, she sends out her Torkoal, who manages to get an overheat against me, but gods of Pokémon are smiling down on me, so by some chance it misses the overheat, and I manage to kill it off with one more Mach Punch. Oh! Dude, what the fuck? With the fire type gym out of the way, we can finally visit the desert ruins, where we get ourselves a Cacnea, which we nickname Carl, and a root fossil, which we give to a random fucking scientist, as in the meanwhile we go and face off against our father Norman, the 5th gym. He starts off with a Spinda, which I send out my avocado against, and kill it off with a couple leaf blades. Next, he sends out his Vigoroth, which we get one leaf blade in before he one-shots our avocado with a facade. Next, I send out my Goomba and set up one Bulk Up, and finish it off with a Mach Punch. Next, he sends out Salinoon, which is a simple case of pressing A once on my Mach Punch. Last but not least, he sends out his Ace Slacking, which I get a Mach Punch in for half its health until it counters and kills off my Goomba. So, I switch into Onion and get in one Poison Powder and quickly switch into Carl. The slacking goes for a yawn, but I can't do this thing. After we're finished flexing on our absent father figure, we travel back to Rustboro City to greet our newest member, Lileep, and cause I ran out of decent names, I'm just gonna call it Potato. Now finally we make our way towards Route 119, where we can catch ourselves a Tropius, which I nickname Ananap, Ananap. After that, something terrifying happens, because this is the point where I stop the recording, go take a sweet nap before returning into this challenge the very next day. And so when I open up my PC, boot up my Game Boy Advance, the console Game Boy Advance, I check in on my party and see that something awful has happened. Is that an egg in my party? What? Why is there an egg in my... Wait, what is it? Why is there an egg in my party? Wait, where's my fossil? Where's my fossil Pokemon with... Oh hell no, what happened to my fossil? What? You can't. Bad eggs are corrupted data and cannot be converted back into the original Pokemon. If that's how that's supposed to be. The egg is also there to stay for good as well as it cannot be released. My... Dude, this is so bad. So a big problem with me losing that Lileep is that before I fell asleep yesterday, I had to teach that exact Lileep the move Toxic, which was one of my many only plans I had in mind of defeating the flying type gym. So with that out of the party and the TM, gone, I had to resort to some potion spamming. So I make my way towards Fortress City and try my luck at the gym to see how challenging it might become. Cause before setting foot inside, I grind up some levels and evolve my Carl. Attempt 1. This is gonna be one of many attempts. I'm already calling it. She starts off by sending out her Swapple, which I respond to with my Avocado, and instantly go for a Rock Tomb, lowering to half HP. The Swapple goes in for an aerial ace, but somehow it doesn't even chip half of my HP, so I simply finish it off with another Rock Tomb. The next Pokemon she sends out is her Pelipper, so I stay in with Avocado and do as much damage as possible with Leaf Blade before fainting. She then proceeds to use a potion on the Pelipper. Next, I send out an Anap, which it unfortunately supersonics instantly. I fail to attack my first 4 attacks somehow, until finally hitting one magical leaf. I proceed to use my revive on Avocado before my Tropius faints. Afterwards I switch into my Avocado and finish it off with one more Leaf Blade. Next she sends out her Tropius, so I switch into my Onion and use a revive on my Tropius. Then she proceeds to use Sunny Day for some reason, so I get one Sleep Powder in. which allows me to use a potion on my Tropius and Avocado. Then I eventually switch into an Anab so I can kill it off with a couple of flies. Then she finally sends out her ace Pokemon, Altaria. So I switch into my Carl so I can get one leech it in for chip damage. But at the same time, Altaria gets one Dragon Dance in. Eventually, she goes for an Aerial Ace and kills my Carl. Then I switch into my Watermelon so I can stall with a Fake Out. Then I switch into Onion so I can use a Stun Powder. And slowly but surely, eventually kill the Altaria with chip damage. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't use at least like 10 revives on that one single Pokemon. Then finally, she sends out her last Pokemon, Skarmory, which again is a simple process of using Leech Seed and waiting for its unavoidable doom. After that grueling gym, which I by some pure luck, sweat and willpower managed to win, my Avocado finally evolves into its final form. After this, nothing really that special happens. We simply have to deal with Team Aqua and Magma separately from their bases, which was quite the long and tedious side quest from the real goal. But we eventually managed to get back in track and reach the 7th gym. So we make our path towards the puzzles meant for children and reach Tate and Liza. They open up with Xatu and Claydol against my Carl and Avocado. First, my Avocado misses his move, so the Xatu gets a free Calm Mind in, which is terrifying, and the Claydol goes for an Earthquake, which doesn't do that much damage against me because I'm used the grass types. Slightly after that, my Carl gets to half his turn and hits a feint attack for half of Xatu's health. Next, I hit it in with an Avocado and do half of Claydol's HP. Which right after that, Xatu gets a Sunny Day, which is not good for me, cause when they eventually send out the Soul Rock, it can swipe my entire team with Flamethrower. Claydol repeats his move and goes for an Earthquake and manages to crit my Avocado. I managed to get a feint attack in on the Xatu, but it's a low roll, leaving it on 1 HP. The next turn starts off with a Hyper Potion on the Xatu. Next, my Avocado goes for a Slam against the Xatu, Claydol repeats, and my Cacturn gets a feint attack in on the Claydol, killing it off. Next, they send out the Soul Rock. I start off my turn by getting a crit strength on the Xatu, finishing it off. And right after that, the Soul Rock kills off my Avocado with a Flamethrower. I send out my Goomba and get a feint attack in on the Lunatone with Carl, which triggers its Citrus Berry, healing it up just enough to survive another feint attack. The Soul Rock starts the next turn with a one-shot Flamethrower against my Goomba, which I replace by sending out my Watermelon, who unfortunately drops to half HP instantly from the Lunatone's Psychic. Then I get a feint attack in on the Lunatone, leaving it low. They then use a Hyper Potion on the Lunatone, and Soul Rock finishes off my Carl. Next, I send out Tropius and get a Surf in with my Watermelon. Watermelon. Why is it so hard to say Watermelon all of a sudden? Fuck me. Then the Soul Rock sets up Sunny Day, and Lunatone goes for a Psychic to kill my Watermelon. So I'm forced to send out my Onion, then my Tropius gets a Magical Leaf in on the Lunatone. Once again, they heal up and use their potion on Lunatone, and right after that, I go for a Magical Leaf on the Lunatone. Then my Sleep Powder hits the Soul Rock. Then I start off by targeting the Lunatone with Magical Leaf, and Absol somehow still only leaving it on 1 HP, which is when the Lunatone gets a surprise hypnosis on my Ananap. Once again, this is where I start off questioning how many potions they really have. And once again, I Absol in on the Lunatone. My Ananap wakes up turn 1 and gets a Magical Leaf in, and then the Sleep Powder with my Onion on the Lunatone. But unlucky for me, the Lunatone wakes up turn 1 and gets a Psychic in on my Onion, leaving it on 1 HP. And Soul Rock wakes up to finish the job, but then I get a Magical Leaf on the Lunatone, leaving it on red. Right after that, I'm forced to reuse my Revive on my Avocado, send it out. Thank God for me, the Lunatone went for Hypnosis and Soul Rock for Sunny Day instead of attacking, so I get a turn 1 to use a potion on my Avocado. And then finally, I outspeed and get a Leaf Blade to kill the Lunatone. Now it's just a simple matter of doing the same thing on the Soul Rock. So right after we get our 7th gym badge, we make our way towards a dubious shipwreck with our newly found TM Dive, which allows us to access the Water Stone to evolve our Watermelon into a beautiful Ludicolo. Right after that, we're forced to deal with Team Aqua, which was an easy cakewalk. But of course, we're too late, and now 2 behemoths are rampaging above surface, possibly becoming the end of all things. So we go and get our one thing that can stop these giants. A fucking green flying snake. After we finally finish doing the most longest, tedious side quest of all, we get to fight the 8th gym. And for the sake of not extending in this video for too long, I'm just gonna skip over that because it's a water type gym and we're again using the grass types. So now with all the 8 gym badges under our belt, there was only one thing stopping us from fighting the champion. After all these cruciating hours I've poured into this game, nothing was going to stop me. So I cruised through the first 2 elite members to face off against one of my biggest weaknesses. Finally we had the 4th elite member, who has no pushover, but failed to keep my grass types at check. So now finally, right in front of me, there was only one obstacle left, in my way towards the answer I seeked. Is it possible to beat Pokemon Emerald with only grass types? We did it! Pokemon Emerald with only grass types. I didn't have a script written for the outro, but I do want to thank all of you people who did stay in and watch the entire video. It was it's probably one of the biggest projects I've ever done. It took me a couple of days to record itself, and the editing itself is going to be a cruciating part, which I'm not even sure how long it's going to take me, but I hope it's gonna be like a single day of me drinking 10 cups of caffeine. Who really knows, right? So anyways, with this entire 10-page document out of the way, where I finally read the entire script I've written and the recording done with and everything, I'm just going to say thank you for watching, and if you want to see similar type of content to this, why not leave a like and subscribe. Bye!